and they were rebuffed. We'll see if they can put more points on the board, but the opportunity to direct qualify into the finals is starting to dwindle. We had questions about this team coming into this tournament, and the answers I don't think their fans are going to like right now. It has not been an illustrious start for the Falcons.
Not at all. Not at all. And I'm actually very worried now at this point because when they played in their Group 1 on day 1, they started off with a big second place, plenty of eliminations, a tremendous game to say, okay, Falcons are here to play. They weren't the greatest on Erangels. They just weren't. And now they move into Erangel. They're already really far down. We're talking 22 points. Falcons have to pull off a hat trick over the next 5 games. They cannot afford to have another bad game. They just can't. They now have to pop off each and every game, and that starts here, game number 2 on Erangel. So for Falcons, the home team, they've got to get to work.
They need those points. They need them fast. Getting 60 points on 5 matches, I don't think it's going to be doable to push up towards that 80-point boundary that we're expecting. It may just be a matter of pride for them at this stage. See if they can go again. Well, and money, to be fair, as they ladder up in those rankings. Of course, you do get a little bit more moolah to be able to take home with you guaranteed, but they very likely going to be seen in the survival stages. And in the survival stages, that's going to be an interesting dynamic, right? It's going to change the lobby, I think, significantly. When you take out the top 8 teams from somewhere, all of a sudden, the forces that controlled the lobby, they've evaporated, right? They've completely changed.
It's a great conversation. It truly is. Some teams might, look at that zone. We'll talk about that in just a quick second. But, man, you know, some teams get very nervous when they see the likes of Alpha 7. Maybe they see Alter Ego Ares doing as well as they are, right? Thunder Talk. And they start to deviate and change their play style. When they're gone, like you mentioned, things start to change a bit. And, well, survival stage is going to be a lot of fun, but very stressful for those teams who are still struggling even at this stage. We look at the zone on the way to the right-hand side. APG, Thunder Talk, we know where they like to go. They like to go towards military. They might run into each other. Kenotrip on the western side bridge might decide to stay there. But early wins, though, for Power, who needs some points. You've got Red Force, who's coming off a tremendous win. They get a lot of points. They are now elevating themselves up into the top 8 potential position. They're well within that zone, could play potentially the gatekeeper role. For others, though, as we know, towards Zarki, Alpha 7, E Arena R8, they've got a relatively long rotate, but I believe they're going to hug on that north hand side of the map, maybe towards Yasnaya. So that side shouldn't be too busy, but yeah, for Naksham Red Force, Power, we got, of course, Alter Ego's Ares, who needs to recover after game number 1. I think they're set up quite nicely.
Yeah, they had a little tight drop over towards Milta very early out of the plane path. A couple of teams out there as well, Power and Gamax. And to be fair, if you're going to choose 2 teams to be right next to you when you drop, it is Power and Gamax, who are in 23rd and 24th on the table, respectively. Yeah, and they managed to get all the way up to Lipovka fairly unscathed. We saw Kinotrope as well taking up Ferry Pier away from 4 Thrives, obviously, who normally drop there. We've seen them drop there for the past 2 days. Of course, not playing today. That spot was open, and Kinotrope have been able to take up that mantle, which does mean that there's potentially different dynamics if Alpha Gaming opts to go for that West Bridge rotate instead of going directly into the zone, right? Going past Thunder Talk, which is also an option.
You say that, it's not going to be an easy one, though, is it? Thunder Talk's been putting up a wonderful fight, and I think for them, they want to prioritize this rotate onto mainland as quickly as possible. There's just no way military is going to be obviously within that next zone, so they want to try and get a move on and potentially get some distance between them and APG. For the other rosters towards Zarki, nobody's moving just yet. Relatively slow goings. R8 did disengage. They're now moving up towards the north-hand side, which could give them a pretty big advantage, in my opinion, if they can set it up properly and have the wherewithal to know, okay, we might have a couple teams rotate in towards Yasnaya. We could play gatekeeper. That could be some much-needed points going their way. I mean, after all, same kind of conversation with Naksham Red Force, R8, AXTMG. They're a little bit on that bubble, right? They've got a lot of ground to cover, and they're running out of time.
Thunder Talk being cautious on this bridge crossing, rightly so. There's nobody currently challenging them, but because of the number of parachutes that they saw heading to that northern side, they would have seen at least 3 or 4 teams heading out over towards the mainland from that Novo drop. They are being nice and cautious to get across this one. They're serpentining across the bridge, they're leaving backstops. It's nice and disciplined from Thunder Talk, and they are going to be able to carry their journey on in towards the south side of this circle, moving now to the south edge of Milta.
Weibo pretty easy rotate for them. They're going to be just fine. Team that is at 42, still very much possible. Revo, a bit of a misjump, but that's okay. He's styling on us anyways. Again, up there towards intense game. Arena. Thunder Talk goes over to the right-hand side, maybe closer and closer towards Gamix. But one thing about this zone, right? I mean, it's so much water, right? There's only going to be so much land that's going to be usable. It's obviously playability-wise. So, yeah, I think it's going to be quite a bit tight. I do worry maybe potentially about Falcons. I think they're just fine at the moment. But if they do decide to hang around school area, you've got Ida, who's already going to be there, most likely very early on. They're probably going to stay there for the time being. You still got IG coming onto your backside. You have, of course, E-Arena. So Falcons going to be just fine. For Kindletrup, though, I am quite excited based off of where they're currently positioned, but Power is getting dangerously close.
Yeah, a lot of contest for that central location. Alter Ego moving up, potentially out of Lipovka towards Prison Hills. It looks like Rosemary may be wanting to stretch out a little bit further. Currently Power hold to the south of it. Kindletrup, they're up onto the tower right now, and just trying to keep an eye out towards Nongshim, who are taking some shots over towards Power as well.
He's still relatively quiet. Tense game. They're on the move. Going through Pochinki, straight into the area off to the left of Falcons. APG still on military. They will decide to finally get a move on. They're not going to go on that western bridge. They're going to take the eastern side, which honestly is good for them. They have to assume if we do take the western bridge, teams are most likely going to be rotating late through blue. That would then include Weibo, who's going to be on to just behind them. Obviously, you do not want to get sandwiched, especially when you don't know how many teams are going to be on mainland once you do decide to get back into the zone. Luckily for them, kind of same conversation that we had against Thunder Talk. Nobody is going to be gatekeeping them on the bridge, which honestly, I think is quite surprising. I think there would have been an opportunity to camp that bridge, but I know it's not necessarily the smartest thing to do at times, especially at this level, because you typically end up cannibalizing each other. But for APG, they should have a free rotate.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to be unscathed on their approach. We'll see where they can go from there. Alpha 7, they did in fact go over that north side, over the north of Yasnaya, and they're looking to slide on in past Mansion, past that open area to the north of Prison, because there isn't too much contest there right now. Those fields fairly uncontested. A couple of those dips being taken up by AXTMG right now, who again find themselves fairly central in a fairly solid spot. Let's hope that they don't mismanage it this time.
I think Alpha 7's going to be heading straight for Lipovka. That's their area, and during Americas, that's where they tended to land. They gave it up this time around because it was contested, so they go up towards Zarki, where they've got free reign to get all the loot they want. But Lipovka, an area, at least on that edge, they are very comfortable, super familiar with it, and it's going to be tough for any teams to battle them on their home turf. Alter Egos, they're going to have Alpha, who's going to be the, upwards, so he's still going to be a bit separated from Alpha 7, but he should be calling this out and saying, okay, A7, they're going to be up top. Let's continue to maintain where we're currently at. And Milta is currently free, absolutely free. Thunder Talk doesn't even decide to take it either.
I mean, you don't want to be holding up in the buildings just yet, right? We talk about the idea of overcommitting to an urban environment, unless it comes with another advantage like high ground over a location or a potential rotational path that comes on through. Milta sits in a bit of the dip from the positions to the north that people are going to be taking. Ooh. Out to the west. Oh my goodness. Maybe you're going to go in there now though.
Yes.
Because it is only when it commits on the side of an urban environment that you want to send in.
Look at everybody.
That is one hell of a shift. Let's go. Mad Max on the road.
Look at everybody just shifting down. So many names, so many teams. Everybody's like, oh, wait a minute. We were not prepared for this. And, well, Alter Egos will take over the right-hand side, and now the gunshots start to fly. Power, by the way, does have a hovercraft, and, well, Rico says, I want to try and take it out if I can. Gamix struggling so much. They're only at 6 points. They've already lost a player, but where they are currently at, maybe, just maybe, they can get a couple of shots and take down some stragglers from other rosters rotating in.
I'm looking at Weibo Gaming right now. They've taken an interesting approach to this one. They've sent all the way out on that western bridge to Sosnovka Military Island. They're currently rotating on the north side of the military base. They're going to be coming through on that bridge, so potentially a little bit of a wild card in play here. They could go for an aquatic approach to the mainland too.
Looking at Alpha 7 rotating down. Ida just next to him. R8's going to be onto the backside of Revo. That's going to be tightly contested depending on where they decide to stay. I expect Alpha 7 to hug the edge of the zone, which is what they're very, very comfortable with doing. But I agree with you, Weibo, loving it. We do have AXTMG rolling up. We got Falcons on your screen. Narvalo looking to put in a little bit of work. Henry cooking a nade, so you have to assume this fight most likely is going to be going down. You want to take out AXTG. You have Strex, who's already going to be out of the way. Narvalo repositioning. This fight may be disengaging. Falcons might want to get out of here. AXTMG says, come back. We actually want to fight this. We're ready.
I mean, this is the scrap for the shelter area for the hill that overlooks Milta and access towards places like the roadblock that sits on the northwest side of Milta. So potential to get a lot from this position, but as soon as it's contested, it gets sluggish, it gets slow. And it looks like these two teams are going to divide themselves from one another and just stay at arm's length. So survival definitely at the forefront of their minds.
Something to think about in the future. Weibo, we did compliment that they were on the military side. If they do have to go up towards mainland, look at that bridge now. You've got IG, who's just next to it. You got Kinotrope as well, who's going to be at the forefront of the eastern side bridge. That's not going to be easy, and I don't think they're going to have a hovercraft, if I'm not mistaken. Team starting to settle down a bit. The Mad Max rotation, as you said it, and you called it, starting to cool off just a little. Falcons still four-man unit, despite them running into AXTMG just a little bit earlier. You have Thunder Talk, who's a bit split, but they're at the moment at least currently fine. Gamex has refused to move from their central position, and Suck is going across the bridge. He's the tip of the spear now for Weibo, and I hope he's not biting off more than he can chew, because Kinotrope is right there.
He's got that east side, right? There's a couple of those rocks that you can stay on. They're going for that scouting position, a shift out to the west, and they're going to be happy that they've now got that foothold. You're going to see the rest of Weibo now looking to regroup, spread out along that coastline. It's difficult because there are going to be players in Milta, and those angles start to get covered off on the position on the east side of the exit from the bridge from Weibo. They're going to have to try and find something. There are some options as well to the western side. Obviously, you've got the gas station just as you come out. Yep. It's pretty difficult to get in towards that, though, uncontested, especially with how ram-packed this circle is right now above them.
Well, good news for them. IG does decide to rotate in towards the northern side, Kinotrope as well. But when you do hug the edge of this this water side, you know you're going to be taking some shots, not only across the way, but as soon as you peek your head at the top, it's most likely going to get popped off. I mean, Kinotrope, great example. They've been looking to gatekeep unintentionally. They didn't know about it, but they knew there was going to be a team most likely coming across that bridge, and once they see it, it's Kinotrope who's just absolutely ready for it. Ida, however, is set up still quite nicely, and I think for them, especially R8, AXTMG, going to rotate straight into them. I think this might be a big game from Ida if the zones continue to bless them.
I'm feeling for Alpha 7 right now as well. Over on that northern side, they're having to push out into the blue. We'll see where they try and wrap around. It could be a long sweep out to the west and push in behind Intense Game. We'll have to see, because they've just actually disappeared north from our map feed. And of course, you guys can check out the map feed over on the YouTube channel. Make sure you're checking that one out to make sure you're up to date, seeing where everyone's going at all times. Alpha Gaming losing Doc, though. That's in a fairly pivotal position. That's over in Milta, as Thunder Talk are going to look to push across.
Yeah, Thunder Talk getting active. Good to see that from them. They've obviously been a very talented roster towards the top echelon when it comes to this group. Anyways, at 50 points, a very realistic option and chance for them to break into top 8. Squashes down to the zone. Mafioso takes down Ralph from Falcons as they do get active. We talked about them having to rotate far up north. Taking down Falcons here would be big for them. Obviously, Alpha 7 still wants to be the champions once again. Taking down the home team this early on, stopping them and stopping their chances essentially after game 2 for top 8 would be massive.
This is so nasty for Falcons. They managed to get that first knock. They do a lot of damage, but now Redox is isolated. Novalo's isolated. Koa's out in the middle of nowhere comparatively. He's over the road, back where we saw them before, up towards that hillside. And they're taking these slow 1v1s. Alpha 7 committing 2 to a single engagement is what has turned the tides here. Sure, they've lost Squash, but they are now descending, and they've got 2 players in. Novalo, surely there's no chance as Mafioso descends. It's Carrillo who draws first blood, Revo who puts him down, and Redox turns his tail and runs.
Yeah, he's gone. He's out. He's going to go ahead and join his teammate just off to the left-hand side and try and lock down this house. If Falcons now pushes into where Redox as well as his teammate is currently at, it's not going to be an easy rotate for them. I am sure of it. We have another zone shift. Weibo once again has to relocate and go to the north, but this time it's going to be the most difficult rotation they have had yet because Kinentrup already had them on the radar. APG was also looking directly at them, and now I'm glad to see R8 on the screen because they were just like Alpha 7 earlier, rotated way north through shelter, came back down, and now they look to challenge Alpha 7, but it's not a real challenge. You can't break into that hardcover POI unless you crash in, and that's almost a death sentence. So I think for them, yeah, they're going to go ahead and rotate and find a better option.
The good thing for R8 is they don't necessarily need to crash. Alpha 7 need to leave. Not necessarily immediately, but they can send on in. But they want to crash anyway. They're sending on through. Looks like Prestige. Oh, he's got himself an AWM there. We'll be able to hunt some heads, I hope, in the coming moments. But they're coming up against Nongshim Red Force. So, of course, that Sandhawk, they're coming off fresh from a chicken dinner.
But I am happier with this crash as opposed to what maybe they were thinking about with Alpha 7. Alpha 7, though, still could play an impact from a distance as they do have that high ground. So you're in the shed, through the doorways, you overexpose yourself, you take a lot of damage, and that only helps Nongshim Red Force in this scenario. Rosemary, opposite of King, and he's dipping. Question is, can he get away, and can Moana help him from a distance?
He's got that cover around the sidelines there. I think Moana's going to be able to hold his nerve. That buggy eating a lot of the damage from behind. The spray downs there, and Thundertalk pulled up quite a lot, and they will be slow now as the circle puts pressure on. Are they going to chase, or are they going to try and keep things together and go for a different approach? Meanwhile, Alter Ego trying to push over towards AXTMG as they disengage from Thundertalk. They put themselves into another sightline, and it will be on this top side of the hill. The nade in from Krypton, but no one's going down just yet.
They've got to make a decision. If you're Alter Egos, you've got AXTMG to your north, you've got Thundertalk to your south, you've got to crash in on one, and it looks like it's going to be AXTMG. If you can disengage from this, you just got to full send it directly into the middle of the zone. Depot T cannot take down Rosemary. Mind you, update, we do lose Intense Game. Our first team, by the way. With how chaotic these zones have been, I am surprised we are just now losing only one team. Back on board with Henry up close. He goes down. Alter Egos need this win. They need to recover from the rough game number 1 that they had, and they're doing exactly that in sensational style.
They slipped the pin, and Alter Ego managed to get around to the other side of AXTMG. With Rosemary down, another as well, down on bended knee. They'll need to try and pick it up, but of course they can. It's Alter Ego. But can they get Rosemary back in time? Because Thundertalk are following in their footsteps.
Thundertalk, like you said, right behind them. They were going to pincer in Alter Egos when they were opposite of AXTMG. But now Alter Egos can put their full focus on the Jing as well as the entirety of Thundertalk, taking them down within control. They would monopolize the entire northern side of the current zone, which would be massive for them. But this isn't going to be an easy fight. Nades are already coming out. Thundertalk is taking the first shots. Krypton takes a bit of damage. You got vehicles to disengage, but Thundertalk really can't go anywhere. They are forced to fight.
4 players still alive, though, which means that they do have a shot here into this engagement. Alter Ego looking to keep this pressure up. Are Ida going to try and chime in? I don't think they're going to want to leave their position right now. No. A little bit closer down towards Milter. Next circle is going to come on through, and it goes a lot more central, so Ida definitely not wanting to flex out at this stage. Gamax very happy. I'm looking at E-Arena as well in the middle of this one, having a good time. I think Power, they'll be able to survive. I'm not expecting them to be able to get up towards these hills. But then again, and this is going to sound mean, it's Gamax in their way, so it might be a little bit easier.
Might be a little bit easier, right? And Gamax hasn't moved, by the way. That's been one of their things that's hurt them so much, is their inability to make a conscious decision of, this is what we need to do. Let's make an effort. Let's push up. But granted, I will say they've been center zone. Where they're currently at and how they're playing is not bad according to how the zone currently looks, because theoretically everybody's going to have to rotate into them into center, so maybe they could pick up more eliminations in the future. But right now at 6 points, you got to think teams are most likely going to bully them and push in. For Thundertalk, AE, they have to push out, and Alpha 7 is also skirting around relatively close to their vicinity, and once again, Alter Egos might be getting pincered, but this time between ThunderTalk and Alpha 7, so taking down ThunderTalk now is imperative.
It's not a full threat from Alpha 7 though. Only a few of them moving in, and that's going to allow Krypton to be unleashed, and ThunderTalk, they have no chance. This guy is insane on a swivel, finding one, finding two, the rest of the team with a volley of fire, and the E-limbs just keep coming. Alter Ego now up to 7. That first game, forget about it. Eyes on Erangel.
And you know what? That's impressive and going to be a massive talking point going into the final stages, because Alter Egos, they can take a bad game and a terrible loss and then turn it around the very next games, which shows composure, shows tenacity, and shows their ability to keep their head in the game despite potentially going through struggles. That's how you become a champion, and I'm calling it early. Alter Egos might very well be in the top 3 running. We look at E-Arena now, Alpha 7. We haven't seen Alpha 7 get active for just a little bit. The last time was against Falcons. This time we've got an opportunity against E-Arena, and Alpha 7 should win this with the utility being thrown and the early damage being affected. Joker is feeling it. Alpha 7, you know them. They're going to want to push this as aggressively as they can.
It feels like this may be their final rotation of the game. They've moved into the roadblock, and they're just trying to survive now, try and outlast these teams. Sure, they can get these nades. I don't imagine that they have the presence, the pressure, with 3 players alive to go for a full push here. They might be able to pick up some E-limbs, sure, but it's R8, I think, who are going to be able to earn the lion's share of this engagement, of this push towards E-Arena.
Yeah, R8's going to be just behind him. Gamex does have an opportunity potentially to fire some shots. I think they've got to keep their heads down, though, because you have Alter Ego Ares, who is firing down on Gamex's position. But here is R8. You mentioned them now pushing in. You got to feel bad for E-Arena. They're between R8, they're between Alpha 7, and they're all huddled within the same location, which makes nades and utility that much more effective. For Alpha 7, though, they continue to bunker down where they are currently at. They do not want to move, and I think this is an opportunity where Gamex, because can't they peek them, if I'm not mistaken, from their location?
It's difficult. There's a little bit of cover. The terrain does give you some cover off. Obviously, Carrillo has the terrain of the actual roadblock itself, of the checkpoint, to play cover towards Gamex. It's just about covered off, and that is a disadvantage of playing on this checkpoint, is that it is a bit of a dearth of information, because you don't have sight lines towards a lot of positions. You're playing, obviously, you know there's a team above you, you've taken fights with them, you're going to hear these gunshots, but you're not going to be able to scope people out. You're not going to be able to take shots. You're not going to be able to suppress a lot of the area around you. That's why I said earlier, it felt like a final rotation for Alpha 7, especially as a 3-player team. I just don't expect them to be leaving this location. The question is, what can they earn from it?
Well, so R8 has made a decision. They're rotating out. They might be giving up this fight between Alpha 7 and E-Arena. Maybe ID comes back into the fold, but I think for them, taking the northern side, maybe challenging the weaker force of Falcons. I say weaker only because they're down to a duo. Meanwhile, R8 still a 4-man unit would be powerful. For E-Arena, they've got the hard cover, but now they've got to push into Alpha 7. This isn't going to be easy for E-Arena. You got R8 still behind you with a couple of stragglers who are just keeping you uncomfortable. Alpha 7 in front of you. If E-Arena makes it out of this, there's no way that they lose this game. If they do make it out unscathed, that is, but I expect them, even if they do win it, they're losing at least 2 or 3.
I mean, Alter Ego, though, still there. That's going to be one hell of a hurdle to cross. They're already up to 11 E-limbs, by the way. R8 trying to make their approach, and E-Arena will go 1-for-1 on the trade. Ida has to back up and look for the res here. Prestige not going to waste any time. A big nade coming through from Mormon, though, and that's going to change the tide of things. Prestige needs to commit, needs to get some damage here. Looks good with the arc. Is he going to be able to connect too much more? The reses are coming through for R8, and they're keeping the pressure up, but the res comes through, and now 4 players still stand for E-Arena. The nade, again, not connecting.
I am shocked. E-Arena has 4 players up, and they're actually doing a ton of damage to R8. Prestige from a distance. Hill makes it so awkward. He can't even get up. You got Albriefus from APG, who might be on the backside. I think he's thinking about it. Okay, do I have clear line of sights? If I do, I'm taking him, and that's going to be all on R8. And actually, here he goes, getting active, and this could help E-Arena so much.
They've managed to find that first and an immediate flush. R8 not in a position. They were almost committed to that push. Every focus was on the E-Arena compound. This Alpha Gaming flex out, I mean, it was a risk, but it's paid off beautifully. Alpha 7, are they trying to look for a move?
Looks like
I don't think so. Not just yet, but Carrillo's sending nades on in. They're keeping the pressure up on the other side of this engagement.
This is messy. This is chaotic. The winner of this fight could very well go on to win game number 2 Erangel of the day. The Alpha Gaming has moved even further up. They're taking taken the forward position. E-Arena now has a couple of players who are down, 2 players to stand up. Carrillo, he wants to push up. He wants to at least get a line of sight on any stragglers who peek their head over the corner. Prestige finally moving in. He's been waiting to do this for the longest time. A nade's being cooked. He swings the angle. He gets the drop, but it's not done just yet. E-Arena fights back through the window. Orator down. It's down to Mark, who hits the shotgun shot through the doorway, though. Clutching up is our boy Mormon from E-Arena. But now, is this the time where Alpha 7 enough says enough is enough? We know you're weak. We're taking you down.
They don't have the pressure, and that's the disadvantage of this location. They are just hiding here. They don't have the time or the angles to push up towards it. Fortunately, they don't have to, because the circle is going to force E-Arena over towards them. They have got that top shot going over their heads from Gamax to suppress E-Arena's rotation, and even further behind them, Alter Ego have those shots. It's going to make E-Arena's approach really, really difficult. Power trying to leave Milter as well. The options are shutting down now for E-Arena.
Hovercraft for Power, by the way. They still have it. We'll keep that in mind. That's going to be so valuable in these open in-game fights. For E-Arena, astounding performance for Alive. We cannot discredit how amazing that is, getting pincered between R8, having APG also moving in on you. The fact that they move out with 4 is something I was not expecting. If Joker can somehow, some way get on top of this roof and look down on Alpha 7, E-Arena could make a play of a lifetime and push even deeper into zone, but he's already taken damage from the distance.
That's Alter Ego, and even with that high ground advantage, you just can't take those angles. The shape of the terrain just doesn't allow it. They try and go for this crash. Alpha 7 have such a strong hold, and Carrillo's holding face against 2, finds them, and immediately shuts them down. Mormon in the smoke, and Carrillo retreats a little bit closer towards his teammates, but he's hopping out. He's getting bold. The weapon swap's there, and the team of E-Arena are falling. Joker with a nade, but Carrillo is farming them as they approach.
Oh, but the nade connects on the Carrillo. The farming ends, and Joker becomes the farmer himself, but only for just a little bit. Carrillo should get back onto his feet. And now we are down to our top 4 teams. And finally, Gamax starts to get active. They're getting pushed, and it's Alter Ego.
From the northeast side, Power have managed to move up behind Alter Ego, so it could be dangerous. The ground floor now taken. Moana, Krypton, followed by Rosemary into the ground floor now, pushing Gamax up on high. Molotovs to burn it, to slow things down before they can get this res, though. These nades are going to start to come on through. Healing now being done, and Alter Ego have pressure from the high ground that they have just deserted.
Rosemary bottom left. He's been the highest damage dealer so far. Krypton as well, to be a great courtesy to Rosemary's performance. Gamax getting pieced apart, but Arthur wants to stop the bleeding. He wants to put Alter Egos into the grave, but will it be possible? I don't know. You got Rosemary, the top dog, with Krypton down below, and he's hugging a corner. He's hugging it tight, but the question is, does Gamax give up their high ground? They're on the second floor. I don't think they do, but Arthur is burning, but only for a little bit.
He has that first aid. Nades being poured over towards Alpha 7, huddled behind the checkpoint. How are they finding these hiding places? I don't know. Carrillo fully flushed out. The nades keep going, and Power are putting more and more pressure on as time goes on. Gamax, they're not out of it just yet. They've managed to extract some value out of Alter Ego, but they will finally fall. Alpha 7 are next to go down, and Power now have it all to do. They've got 4 players alive if they get this res, and Alter Ego on 3.
And they have the hovercraft as well. We cannot discredit how powerful that might be in this end zone, but it's hovercraft versus hardcover POI. Alter Ego's areas, 15 eliminations. 15, absolute insanity. We've been singing their praises. We've been talking about how amazing Rosemary is and how great this roster might be in the finals. Could they be consistent from yesterday to today? Well, game 1 gave us a bit of a fright. Maybe they're starting to slow down, but game 2, they shut us right up with 15 elims, now top 2 going for gold.
And Krypton is ahead of them, the tip of the spear. He is the top fragger right now. He's been doing a lot of work coming in on today, and he has still got a little bit more gas left in the tank. Over to Easy. Krypton and Moana. Moana goes down, and Krypton falls next. A nice hold there along the sight lines for Power, and it's all up to the man himself. It's Rosemary with a chance to prove that he can take a 1v4. Sure, it might be against Power, but it would be legendary. Unfortunately, it's not to be. And Power managed to leave Milta in the chaos, move in behind Alter Ego, and they take a chicken dinner.
9 eliminations, mind you. A big difference from the Power that we've been seeing in the previous days. Power takes the first win of the day for themselves. Of course, game number 2, but you cannot discredit how amazing Alter Ego's Ares are to snap back from game number 1 into game 2. But Power, a roster that I expect a lot from,